Marjorie Taylor Greene went on the Fox Propaganda Network to address her feud with Lauren Boebert, the censure of Democrat Adam Schiff, and the deal made between Hunter Biden and the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. Just like her master, Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene is making some bizarre interview choices. Trump recently had an interview with Bret Baier, who is one of the last vestiges of any sort of journalistic credibility within the Fox Propaganda Network. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who you would think would be much more comfortable on OANN or Newsmax, actually had an interview with another credible journalist on the Fox Propaganda Network, Howard Kurtz. Now, he's been in a few of our videos because he's one of the few who will actually call out the network for its shenaniganry. He was one of the ones, for example, who mentioned the defamation suit from Dominion Voting Systems against Fox News when he basically said that Fox screwed up big time and was in pretty serious trouble. Howard Kurtz also addressed the chyron that Fox put out a couple of weeks ago, referring to President Biden as a wannabe dictator. I think he used the phrase problematic. He said something to suggest that the chyron was inappropriate. So Kurtz is a relatively moderate figure on the network, along with Neil Cavuto and, again, Bret Baier. But Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to have an interview with Howard Kurtz, which, again, is surprising because he's the sort of person, relative to other Fox journalists, who will push back on her more ridiculous claims, which is, quite frankly, like 90% of them. And I want to play about 3 clips because they cover the feud with Lauren Boebert, the censure of her fellow Democratic congressman or her fellow congressman, who is a Democrat, Adam Schiff, and the guilty plea that Hunter Biden made with David Weiss, a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney. We'll start with the Lauren Boebert thing first, and then we'll unpack it.
What's proven and what is not. Now, according to CNN, Daily Beast, and others, you accused your Republican colleague, Lauren Boebert, on the House floor of stealing or copying your impeach Biden resolution and then called her a nasty little bitch. And I only use that word because you've confirmed it. Is this the media loving a cat fight? Because you haven't exactly shied away from this.
Well, I find it unfortunate that Lauren Boebert leaked that conversation that we had to the press. But once she leaked it out, I had to confirm that that's in fact what I said. But here's the real issue. I've introduced articles of impeachment, and each time I do so, along with my other bills, I communicate with all of my Republican colleagues and ask for support by asking their co-sponsorship, because I co-sponsor many other Republicans' bills. In order to pass things on the House floor, we have to get 218 votes, and that means that we have to work together. I had asked her to co-sponsor my articles of impeachment against Joe Biden on the border, and she never responded and apparently refused to do so. Then when she introduced her own and forced them to the floor with a privilege resolution without even having the courage to talk to any other Republican in our conference before doing so, except Speaker McCarthy and apparently a few others, we had a tense conversation when she confronted me about things I had said about it. But this is unfortunate that this becomes public on the House floor.
Just briefly.
So, as was previously reported, Marjorie Taylor Greene did, in fact, refer to Lauren Boebert as a little bleep. So that is no longer a scurrilous rumor. That is actually just an explicit fact that she acknowledges. Now, it's illustrative of the feud between these two women who otherwise have so much in common, from their devout loyalty to Donald Trump, to their combative nature, to their anti-intellectual tendencies, to their, just all the things, right? And now what's interesting, too, is this idea that, like we talked about in a previous video addressing this exact subject, Marjorie Taylor Greene is attempting to, I don't want to say moderate, but she's clearly cozying up to Kevin McCarthy and trying to do things in a more establishment way compared to Lauren Boebert or Matt Gaetz. Like, she's trying to bridge the gap and have a foot in the Freedom Caucus world, as well as the more serious, credible side of things under Kevin McCarthy, where she's basically trying to be a conduit between these two camps. I don't know how successful she will be, especially since it seems like the Freedom Caucus is rapidly growing tired of her. But that's her stated reason for her, hateful remark towards Lauren Boebert, which is that I wanted Lauren Boebert's support. She should have backed me up with my articles of impeachment, not issued any sort of articles of impeachment of her own to run parallel to mine. So I want to play another clip when they're discussing her the censorship, the censoring of Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, which recently occurred. Adam Schiff was one of the impeachment managers in the first impeachment against Donald Trump for the quid pro quo Ukraine call, in which Donald Trump tried to pressure Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, to open an investigation against Joe Biden, who, of course, was Donald Trump's domestic political rival. It was a wildly unethical, wildly inappropriate quid pro quo in which Donald Trump leveraged congressionally approved federal funds for Ukraine and dangled them over Ukraine's head. Say, hey, basically, if you don't do me a domestic political favor that has nothing to do with the United States, it's for me personally, I'm not going to give you the money that Congress has ordered me to give you. And so Adam Schiff has been a thorn in the side of Republicans ever since. He was also a major figure in calling for investigations into the relationship, the inappropriate relationship between members of the Trump campaign and Russia. So he's been targeted for payback since that time. And they finally formally censured him. He's still serving in Congress. They haven't kicked him out or anything like that. But it's basically a really formal reprimand of Adam Schiff. And so Howard Kurtz asked her about that, and let's hear what she has to say.
So I want to move on to some other things. Why did House Republicans censure Adam Schiff? The official reason is that he led the Russiagate investigation of President Trump. But doesn't this help him with Democrats, help him raise money?
You know, we censured Adam Schiff because of how greatly he lied to the American people. And his lies about President Trump and the Russian collusion hoax cost the American taxpayers $32 million. Not only that, it tainted and tarnished President Trump's reputation, which is wrong. And members of Congress should not be conducting their behavior through lies.
Now, I shouldn't have to provide any sort of commentary as to why that is ridiculous. I could point out that the Mueller investigation into the relationship between Donald Trump, the Trump campaign, the Trump administration, and Russia yielded dozens of indictments. Many of Trump's inner circle or members of Trump's campaign or Trump's staff were indicted, charged, and convicted of various acts of corruption and inappropriate contact with Russian state actors. Members of the Trump campaign shared polling data with Russian state actors, or the Russia intelligence apparatus interfered in the 2016 election on Trump's behalf. They, hacked the DNC servers. They worked in a way to try to get Donald Trump elected. Vladimir Putin wanted Trump to win the 2016 presidential election, not Hillary Clinton. That's a fact. All of these things are facts. There has been no credible debunking of those facts. Nobody has contended or seriously challenged the conclusions of the Mueller report, the Durham report into the Mueller report, the Durham investigation into the Mueller investigation, didn't challenge any of Mueller's findings. So it's simply a fact that members of the Trump campaign and Trump administration did have wildly unethical contact and close relationships with a foreign adversary that tried to interfere in the United States election on Trump's behalf. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is simply wrong there. But I love the fact that she's saying we're censuring him. We're censuring Schiff because Schiff lied, and it's really inappropriate to lie and to tarnish the reputation of a sitting president, even as she does exactly that with the current sitting president, Joseph Robinette Biden. So that's hilarious. There's another clip I want to play here real quick in which she discusses the situation with Hunter Biden. Again, as a reminder, Hunter Biden was investigated actually multiple times at the federal level, but most recently by a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney out of Delaware, David Weiss, who President Biden could have fired at any time. The second Joe Biden was inaugurated, he could have fired David Weiss and killed that investigation into his own son. Instead, he allowed David Weiss to continue investigating his own son, which is an act of profound political ethics that Trump and Republicans would be simply incapable of replicating. David Weiss was allowed to continue his investigation, conclude his investigation. He made a plea deal regarding 2 misdemeanors and a gun-related felony. And he wrote a letter himself, this Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, to Republicans in Congress and said, hey, Despite what you're suggesting, I was given absolute latitude by Attorney General Merrick Garland to conduct my investigation and charge whoever, whenever, wherever I damn well pleased. So all the facts are aligned against the Republicans here. And so that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene now has to contend with. So let's hear what she has to say.
It doesn't matter to me whether it's a Trump-appointed attorney, Trump-appointed judge. It does not matter. That attorney is not doing his job. Oversight Republicans, Ways and Means Republicans, Judiciary Republicans are unraveling the crimes of Hunter Biden faster than this attorney ever did. He didn't do his job. He didn't go far enough. And these charges are a pathetic excuse that the American people are not buying. As a matter of fact, they're furious over it.
All right. Well, Hunter Biden obviously did plead guilty to a couple of charges. I take your point.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I'll remind everybody is not an attorney, not a Trump-appointed attorney, not an anybody-appointed attorney. She has no legal expertise of which to speak. They gave the game away. She's like, look, I don't care that it was a Trump-appointed attorney. I don't care if the presiding judge was a Trump-appointed judge. If they don't conclude, if their conclusions do not match mine, it doesn't matter who appointed them. It doesn't matter who selected them. It doesn't matter what their ideology is. It doesn't matter what their preferences are. I have a specific outcome I demand, and if people fail to provide it, then they're wrong, and they did things the wrong way, and they failed. So it's an outcome delivered. It's like an outcome-specific process. They don't care about the process. They don't care about whether or not there are any sort of legal merits or judicial merits to a particular case. They want a specific outcome, and anything short of that, is an indictment of that person's character. So they gave the game away, right? Anything short of an absolute legal massacre of Hunter Biden, which they could then politically weaponize, is just wildly unacceptable to them. There's no timeline. There's no Doctor Strange Avengers timeline in which Republicans accept the results of an investigation into Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, the Biden family, which doesn't yield a conviction or an indictment of some kind. And they wouldn't accept a timeline. There's no timeline in which they accept an investigation into Donald Trump or the Trump family, which doesn't yield exoneration. This is an ideologically driven cult that should be mocked and belittled at every opportunity. So I'm glad she did this interview because it gives us a chance to do just that.